And we'll check with Twitch. We'll check with YouTube. Right, we're connected to Twitch, so that's working again. That's good. And YouTube thinks we're connected, so that's a good start. And just as I start streaming, Greta comes home. Hey, babe. It literally just started this second. Alright, guys. So today I want to do a little bit of continuation of last week's stream. I want to take another crack at the app, maybe just see if I can take a few more steps. And I also want to continue a stream I worked on a while ago with the 9x9 layouts, except now I want to work a little bit more closely with this sort of final-ish version, kind of tweak it a little bit, kind of build a little bit of a demonstration how it might work, because there's some flaws in this one that we can probably fix. Let's start with this one. We'll probably want to see what's going on. We'll probably want to have a look if, and we'll probably want to open this as a separate editor. All right. So we basically started moving all the features over. There's obviously a bunch of styling issues. So let's have a quick look, because I don't know if maybe we didn't copy the CSS over. So that wouldn't be bad, because that's a relatively easy fix. All right. Let's just get my head back in the game. So the CSS, I think, is stored with the engine. And we're working from the staging version, right? So let's have a look. We need style. We need sort of type. I feel like we've already copied these, but okay. So we have fill patterns, style, color, sequence codes, calculator, color slur, and replay. Okay. Pretty sure we already moved those over. So then the reason these are off must be related to the SVG. So let's have a look at what that looks like right now. And I believe that would be either here or in the HTML, which is somewhat separate from the one in the core app, right? It's one of the things that doesn't get carried over easily. Oh, so let's bring that one over here and have a quick look. Maybe there's something obvious. I mean, I know there's a bunch of stuff related to these things, related to the fog, but other than that, there isn't a lot of HTML really to the, at least the core rendering engine. And I think I've already updated these last time, so I don't. Something is changing, although I don't think that could be it. I think there's got to be something else. Ah, wait a second. So for this, we're using the thumbnailer. And the thumbnailer is old code. So the thumbnailer... Okay, so because the mobile app was where I first developed the process of building thumbnails. So it has its own code base. In the meantime, I've got much better code in the app itself. But I don't actually want to rewrite the thumbnail to use that, because it's a fairly complex piece of code, and we're gonna probably throw it out later. So for now, let me see if I can easily get it to update it. So I'm thinking the thumbnailer actually has some of its own way of managing some of this stuff, right? So I think this is probably what's kind of broken, actually. So let me just, you know what? I'm just gonna open the folder here so it doesn't get all munged together. So, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually open the specific subfolder for the staging environment. I'll just make things a little bit clearer. Huh? No. Can I not? What the heck? Can I not open that? My folder. Okay. I don't know where I was, but I was in the wrong place. So the screenshot tool, which is here, does similar things, but this code, I think, oh man, I've cleaned that code up so much that it's probably no longer compatible even. There might be something related to this either in puzzle tools or in utilities. Maybe under puzzle tools. Let's have a look. Is this related to that? Because I came up with a much better way of pulling all the styles out, but it required a bit of a rewrite of how everything works. So this is actually quite bad. So for this, for the screenshot tools, is it doing its own SVG building or is it just using puzzle tools? I think this is just using puzzle tools. Yeah, so that's just using puzzle tools. Do I want to try to rewrite that to use puzzle tools? Ugh, it would fix so much, but it would also potentially break so much. Basically, the problem is to generate the thumbnail. The thumbnail is dependent on quite a few CSS styles, and they're not particularly well organized. So this code tries to basically pull all the styles out of the engine itself, and then kind of manages which styles go into the image itself. And this does the same thing. It's just older code, so that probably is out of date now. Can I just transfer this over to here, maybe? See how that has a bunch more? If I do this, for example, what I wanted. If I do something like this, for example. And no. Question is this giving me up-to-date styles? I don't know if it does. So, for example, yeah, that's already an image at this point. Debugging this will be a huge pain in the butt, actually. And I think I also changed which fonts and where they get loaded. So I'm contemplating right now sort of what is the most effective way of getting it somewhat fixed, or should I not fix it at all and then just replace the code that generates the thumbnail itself? Because I'm not sure if by the time because Thumbnailer is in the app not part of the core engine, and I'm not sure if it's easy for me to access tools from the core engine from here. Let's see. So this is used here. This is used here. So create SVG template. So now in this case, this is used here. Get SVG CSS. So we have get SVG SSS as well. Okay, 1 second. So if I go here, and in this place, log out puzzle tools. And see just if puzzle tools exists at this point. If we reload this, right? And I think I still have reserve log on, which is not great. Now we go here. So puzzle tools exists. Okay, so let's see. We have get SVG CSS here, and that is used by puzzle to SVG. Create SVG element template is used one time in create SVG with template. Right? And this, by the end of this, we have a bunch of SVG here, I presume. Right. So we could potentially just replace this with Puzzle to SVG. If Puzzle to SVG does something similar, and it might even be compatible, we put a debugger statement here. Maybe it'll run only once. All right. And now if I also do this, the problem is this is async. Can I do something like this here? Like have a little async function that I execute where I'm doing all of this. I might still get some spam, but hopefully it'll freeze everything at this point. I don't know if debugger works like this though. Okay. If I refresh this now, what does that look like? All right, we hit the debugger. Sorry if this is a bit small, but it's quite spammy, so I don't want to make it too big. Camera's moving. So that's the SVG from our original, and then this is Puzzle to SVG, which, so it's 24K, and this is 24.9K. So they're a similar size. So this might just be a drop-in replacement, potentially. So let's just try it. What's the worst it could happen? And I don't know if the ops are compatible, but I kind of built it from this, I think, originally. So it might just work. The only issue is here, this is async, and I don't know if I can change this to be async. Let's create a second one here. Let's see where this is being created. Puzzle to SVG. So it's async here. Okay, so we could actually potentially substitute that right here. We could just do this and not call this at all. Right? Now if we refresh. Ah, look at that. Oh my god, that worked better than I anticipated. Look at that. It's basically fixed. The blur doesn't work. The blur, yeah, the blur won't work because it doesn't have anything related to that in there. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is maybe do a creator 2, make it async, right? And then we're gonna use that over here. Right? And then here, instead of doing all of this, right, we'll do that. But now we're gonna look into any of this other stuff. Insert, create SVG template content. Yeah, this is a bunch of stuff that we don't have to do now. Don't think we care about this either. And then we really just need to do this. If SVG, right, let's be a let. All right, SVG style close, blur style. Let's see. Does that bring the blur back? No. Unless blur is false in all cases. If we force a blur, it still doesn't work. Um. Should insert something just before the ending of the SVG. I don't think there's anything else here happening. If I output this and put debugger here, what will that get me? All right, we hit the debugger. And we should see something at the bottom. Maybe not. All right, let's not output the SVG for a sec. Let's output these two items and see if our SVG even has that in there. Instead of a replace, we'll do a match. And then we'll see what the output is. All right, so it finds the style tag. And it wants to replace it with blur style. Oops, I didn't want that. Oh my god, Windows, why is that stuck now? Oh no, it's somehow the resizing bar is stuck. Are you kidding me, Windows? Are you bloody kidding me? I'm just checking. No, it doesn't work on any of the screens now. Just when I think I'm about to get some work done, I have to deal with another Windows bug. Windows resize bar stuck. Oh, Explorer crashes. Of course. Why wouldn't it? And now, of course, all my plugins are reset and all my windows are not managed anymore. Oh, Windows, why? Well, I guess I should be grateful that it didn't blue screen. Lately, it's blue screening when I'm exiting things. Not when the things are running, not when I'm doing stuff. No, when I'm exiting something. All the icons are in the wrong places. That shouldn't be here at all. Obviously, I can't find anything anymore. Because Windows insists on smooshing my buttons together for no reason. All right, sorry about that. So I want to step through this, so can I just... All right, the debugger is not useful right now, in my way. All right, so it finds it, it tries to replace it with style sheet. Oh, inside this, it's looking for the style tag. Oh my god. I was thinking of the final SVG tag, which is very different. So if we're looking at this, and we want to look at where the style sheet closes, which is here, and then it's doing that. And it's basically adding this line, I believe. And that line won't work if the blur filter isn't there. Okay, and where does that get added? Ah, in the template here. All right, I should look for blur both places here. All right, so I have to sort that out here as well. We have this. Wait a second. Oh, because I separated the template generation from the SVG generation, and that's no longer necessary. So I guess I can just put this here, like this. No, no, because that goes after this tag. So I guess I can just put that here, right? Ah, there we go. Okay, cool. Sweet. Why you're awake suddenly? All right. So the blur filter works as well now. The coloration works. Okay, I think that's basically the thumbnails all working again. The settings are currently not working. But I think we can just do this for now. All right. Then I can open that. And I can continue. And everything looks fine here as well. No errors. Okay, that seems pretty good. Obviously, there's a lot of details now. Okay. So let's... This is one of the built-in puzzles, puzzle 2. All right. Let's just play through it, see if anything weird happens. Okay, the colors here, the styles here look fine, as I would expect, because it's using them from a different place, right? Right, I think this all looks fine as well. The setting for cartridge is on. I don't think I want that on by default. That's something I need to figure out, like a strategy for default settings and all that. All right. Let's go here and here and here. All right. Let's go here. I don't recall this being a hard one, particularly. All right. Ones. Twos. Okay. Threes. Three. Okay. This is now 2 and 7. Okay. 4s. Let's see. Let's get this a 4 here. 5s. 6s. 7s. Okay, that's a 4-7 down here. 5. Puts up the 5s. These two are 7, 8. And then these two are 1 and 9. 3, 9. These are 1, 8, 9. Okay. These are 4, 8, 9. Okay. I think now I'm just gonna shortcut the rest. 8s. 9s here, and these two are 1 and 9. It's resolved, which resolves these, which is a couple more. And these three are 2, 4, and 7. I wonder if there's a word for like a triple like that, where each one is missing a different third digit. You can't like get any pairs out of it or anything like that. It feels like it's a structure I encounter quite often. It feels quite... It's annoying, but it's also something worthwhile marking. Did I just select 9? Yeah. Okay, well that's 2, 4, 9 over here. These are 4, 6, 7. These are 2, 7, 8. Right, none of these are particularly limited. 3, 4, and 8. Okay, 3, 1, 4, 1. 8s. Hmm. Hmm. 4, 8, 9. Ah, Toby still hasn't eaten his lunch. It's running late. No 8s here. These aren't resolved either. 7s. Right. These 4s. I think I have to do a second order deduction now. I don't think I can do it the lazy way. Like I need to find a triple or something that makes another elimination. So we have 2s, 1s, 9s, and 7s. Okay, 8s over here. 1, 3, 7, 8, 9. No 1s here. Oh, and no 8s. There's a 1-8 pair, I'm just realizing. So 3, 7, 9. Okay. There are other pairs like that. Those 8s over here. You know that already. 8s over here. 7, 4, 9. What's going on with these? I feel bad marking them all up. But I'm in a hurry. Even though this might not speed things up at all. So 9 here or here? There's something about the 9s here. Not really. Not really. 4s. Something going on with the 4s, maybe. If I put a 4 here, that 4's here. Yeah. Not unexpected. What if this is a 4? Then that's a 4. If that's a 4. This is a 4. Nope. That's a. This. If that's a 4, 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 that's a 4. That's a 4. Yeah, that doesn't really help. If that's a. And that's a 4. No, not really useful. That's a 4, that's a 4. 4, 4, 4. That's a 4. Go here. Also not useful. Disappointing. 5s are done. Oh, why am I not seeing... I'm not seeing my marked cells here. We have that kind of luxury now in this version of the app. Hopefully soon in all the versions. Okay, this 1-8 is the... Ah, there was a hint, wasn't there? XY change between column 4 and 8 will help with 8s. 4 and 8 will help with 8s. Oh, yeah, there was something with 7 and 8, I think. Like, if this is an 8... This is an 8, that's a 7. This is an 8, that's a 7, that's a 4-9 pair. If this is a 9... 7. But where does the chain go? Between 4 and 8. There's some... What does it say? There's something... An XY chain between columns 4 and 8 will help with 8s. XY chain. XY chain means there's like a... 2 pairs that are alternating see the same cell or something, right? And it can only be over here because these have nothing in common, right? This is a 4, that becomes a... This is a 4, that's a 7, that's a 2. Wait, if this is a 7, that's an 8, that's a 4, that's a 3, that's a 9. Wait, if this is a 7, that's an 8. That becomes a 4, that becomes a 3, that becomes a 9. So this is 9, 8, and that becomes a 4. Alright, if this is a 2... Sorry, if this is a 7, this becomes a 4. If this is a 2, 4, 7... This is a 2, 4, that's an 8. This is a 4, 9. This is a 2, 4, 7. This is a 2. Or maybe it's this one. If this is a 4, that becomes a 3, 9. That's a 4, 8. This is a 4, 2. This becomes a 7. This becomes an 8. So this becomes a... This is a 7. This becomes a 2. This becomes an 8. That's a 4, 9. That's a 7. If this is a 4, this becomes a 3. This becomes a 9. Becomes a 4, 8, 4, 8. Alright. I think I have it, but I'm too lazy to figure it out. So 5, 4, and 2, 8. 5. Row 5, column 4, and row 2, column 8. If this is an 8, this is a 7, that's a 2, 4, 7. This is an 8. This is a 4, 9. If this is an 8. This becomes a 4, 9. This is an 8. This is an 8. This becomes a 4, 9. Wait, I think there's another elimination I need to do first for this tip to work. Like this. Maybe this can't be a 4 and or 9 or something like that. Via row 1, column 4. If this is a 7, that becomes a 4, and that's a 4. It's a 4, and that is 8, and then this becomes a 9, right? If this is a 7. If this is a 2, that's a 4, that's a 7. That's a 3, that's a 9. What? One of them must be 8. So 4, 5, 2, 8. 4, 5, 2, 8. Connected via 1, 4. Oh, they're connected by 1, 4. And 2, 5. Row 2, column 5. So if this is a 4, or this is a 2, this becomes a 4, this becomes an 8. This is a 7, this becomes an 8. Okay, so that eliminates the 8 from there. Okay, that's what I was looking out for. Now we have a 4, 9 pair. That takes the 4s out of these. Right? And now we have a 7 here. Take 7 out of these. 6 is over here. So we have a 7, 7, 7, 7. That's fine. 4, 9, 4, 8, 3, 8, 9. So that's kind of through these. 7. We have 7s here, 7s here. So something with the 7s now? Not really. 8's here. Eliminated an 8 here. Ah, okay, because the 8 is here, that becomes a 1, 8, 1. 7, 2, 9, 1, 4, 7, 4, 4, 9, 3, 9, 7, 3. I am on the chat, right? Yeah. Nobody's around today. All right, so I'm kind of happy with this little progression because that fixed like a major aspect in a very elegant way. Because right now I'm just looking for the sort of the least amount of changes to update the engine and do an update, and then I can work on the bug fix, and then I can do a patch release, and then I can work on the sort of big mega update. All right, so I'm kind of happy with that. I need to clean it up, and I gotta go through it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually look at this a little bit. So this was this is the wrong editor window. So I don't think we need this anymore. And have that. So this was something done by the Project Number 9 students. So there's a couple of things, like I would make these squares, I would get rid of the hover effects, I would maximize this, and I think I had a crack at it with this one. So let me, oh, where's my console? Let me do that here. I think I have it here. I think that'll do this one. Yeah. So I just wanted to look at this and kind of make some modifications to it, how I would manage that, right? So let's have a look at these rounded corners because they make sense on these. And these thumbnails. Is it this one? Or maybe this one. If we look at, I think this is the file. It'll be in here. So first of all, we get rid of the hover effect. Doesn't make sense on something that needs to be mobile compatible. All right, no more hover. All right. Secondly, we want to get rid of these rounded corners. And I think it's this one. CSS rounded corner. And I think you need to have 4 values, right? So if we'll have 10, 20, and then 50, and then 100, it should give us a good idea which of those numbers is. Okay, so it's the top ones first, and then the bottom 2. If I do this, we should get something like that, right? Shadows or whatever. We'll probably want to get rid of these rounded corners as well. And these are on this thing or the iframe. So they'll be on Sudoku frame. So we'll just get rid of that. And that. I don't know, they like box shadows and border radiuses a lot. Yeah. And we might overload the whole toolbar. Okay, so the next step is I want to test out what's in this frame. I want to do this, right? So that's also localhost. And now one of the things I need to fix is the margins here. So the margins currently wrongly... Hey, Mark, how are you doing? They currently are calculated using the zoom factor of the puzzle, right? So when we have a 9x9, a 9x9, make a 9x9. If it's a 9x9, they look differently than on a 4x4 because the margins are calculated inside rather than outside of the scale. So we definitely want to fix that. Toby, it's time for your meds. And that should be fixed in layout, I'm pretty sure. So let's look at the project 9x9 layouts. And I think it's basically in here somewhere. So here we're recalculating all this stuff. And some of them I'm probably calculating the scale correctly, and some of them I'm probably not calculating the scale correctly. So I think the border, so this thing is the CI element, right? So CI, and the width is margin, BO margin. Okay, so let's have a look at these here. And BO margin, which I'm subtracting there. And I'm guessing these are relatively large numbers. The browser just crashed. The tab just crashed here. Okay. What's going on? Is it taking so long? I don't understand. I never figured that out, why sometimes just suddenly it takes 30 seconds to load the exact same thing locally that it normally does in a fraction of a second. I don't know. I hope that doesn't mean that my computer's about to crash. I just noticed my mouse cursor stuttering as well. Okay, so here we should now have an output of these values, and if we compare them to the larger puzzle, right? So I'm just gonna tap between them. So margin is always the same, and BO margin is vastly different, right? And the BO margin is being calculated from this multiplied by BOT scale. So it's deliberately using the scale of the puzzle. Well, I guess to some extent I have to, because I'm basically saying, hey, what if there's something there, like an external... Yeah, I think I actually have to do that, because I don't know if the puzzle has elements there or not. I might have to find out. And to do that, I need a puzzle that's 4x4 and has outside clues, which I don't... Mark, you don't have a puzzle like that off the top of your head? Let me see if they have something. I think I asked for this before and they might have sent it to me already, so I'm gonna look for in my scroll back history to see if I can see that somewhere. Let's see. They've sent some links. No. It does have outside clues, but it's yeah, no, I need a 4x4 with outside clue basically. Because I need to see if my calculation here is correct. Let me see. Yeah, the margin on this side is also fairly large. Oh yeah, okay, so the other consideration I had was to, instead of having it as a floating box, to have it basically as an attached panel. So that's the other thing we can try. So if I look at this thing, the style for this right now is, I think, on this controls info. And it comes from here. I'm curious actually where this is actually coming from. Where is the rounded corner and the border and all that stuff coming from? Maybe it's on this thing? Uh-huh. Here we go. Puzzle rules. Where is that from? Oh, here it is. Jeez, I'm blind as a bat. All right, so if I say border none, for example, right? Like if we do this, and then we'll say border radius none. I think none works. Nekdoku. Search where? On the Discord? In a particular channel? This one is an odd shape, so that might actually be helpful for testing. Let's see. I guess, yeah. Nothing on the first page of results. Usually not fun for me to be scrolling search results while on the stream. All right, let's see. This might work. try that. Yeah, you see that's, so now I just have the rest of the margin available there. And I can't really... View margin, okay, wait a second. Let's get these to the same, refresh them both. So this one says view margin is 40, and on this one it's 44. Why does it get bigger here? The scale is larger. Because I'm wondering basically if my bounds calculation in this case is taking the contents into consideration or just looking at the SVG elements. So so let's have a look at these. That's the game bounds. And these are the board bounds. So let's see about those two. And compare them to this guy. So game bounds and board bounds, we're looking at width. So 852. I think the game is just our display area, so we don't really care about that. So board bounds here is 70. No, it's 400. And here it's 420. Okay, but that gets compensated for by the scaling, I imagine. Trying to think. And that part of the algorithm has always been a pain in my butt. All right, let's look on the alternate rules text styling, because if I can put that in, then maybe I have the extra space, right? So for that, what we want to do is I thought the border radius 1 would do the trick. Can I disable that dialog? Not from in here, but maybe from here. If I do that, refresh. No, because it's okay. Don't pass on magic. I'm gonna put that as a debug thing. No pause and start. Because that's gonna save me quite a few clicks over time. So, what has the rounded corners? Border radius, none. So that's just gonna be 0. All right. CSS disable rounded corner. Can I just making it 0 seems just so wrong. So it's gotta be 0. All right, so it's just gotta be 0. Okay, fair enough. So we're making that 0. The positioning is set down here. So if we make this 0, something like that, right? Nope, that's the wrong thing. This should be the control information. Okay. Then the top, the bounce top. So right now it's aligned with the puzzle. But what if we make it aligned with the game board bounce and no margin? Something like this. Okay. It's a bit weird though. That's a bit weird, right? So top is 40 here. And then here, it has some sort of weird margin. What is this orange at the top there? Margin. Does it actually have a margin? Can we disable that? Puzzle rules. Margin. That. Okay. Change it to 0. Okay. And now the right side can gain some stuff. Because left, we're actually losing margin here. So width. Don't have to do that anymore. Just put that there for now. Do that. Max height goes here because I've modified that. And then probably what we want to do is we just literally set the height to this height. I don't know why we're rounding twice here. Okay. Clearly that's a mistake. I'm still rounding twice somehow. I hide this max height thing for a sec here. Are you ignoring my height setting here? So on this thing, we can just make this 100%, right? No. Max height is still getting set. Oh, it is. No, we don't want that anymore. Puzzle rules. Puzzle rules. Height 100%. Rules info.puzzle rules. That should be hitting this thing. Controls info. Dot puzzle rules. We have height 100%. Is it because it's position relative? Absolute. If we make this position absolute, I guess it makes some things easier. Like if I make this top 40 px, left 0. Like if we're doing this. Now, this thing still says position fixed. It's getting overridden by the local style, which is being set somewhere else. Okay. All right. Let's just manually set that down here. If I just say height, we'll make this the same height. That should do the trick, right? Nope. 480 pixels. Okay. And this is height 480 pixels. Height 480. How can these two things be the exact same height? You gotta be kidding me, right? Yeah, it's not 480. How? Oh, is it because of these? God damn it. All right. Max height needs to be auto. Puzzle rules. Max height. Auto. It's not accepting my max height setting here. Max height auto. Is max height auto not something? Is that not a setting? Max height. I guess none. Yeah, auto and none and stuff like that is kind of confusing. Yeah, okay. And from the scroll bar, I can see that it's going to the right place. Now we can mess around with padding a little bit. I think padding right now is fairly chunky. If I do it like this. Ideally, we'll gain some more horizontal space, but it's something. And the color, I guess we can just use the same color we have here, which isn't specified here, I believe. If I put this at the top, then here we say background color bar this. Does that work? Apparently not. Background color. It's the same. We've set it here already. Oh, I'm missing one dash. We've got 3 dashes in the variable name, just to make it easier, I suppose. And then we probably need to have the text color be white as well. Something like that. And the font size seems chunky, but again, it's gonna be different layouts, different screens, different kind of people. We probably want larger padding top and bottom. So we can probably do something like this. And then maybe make this 0.8. I mean, ideally the text would scale a little bit depending on how much text there is. Oh, wait. That's supposed to be a space, I believe. Okay. All right, that's better. That's better. So now from here, if I click that, it'll look like this. And on a 6x6, like this. Okay. I still feel the spacing is large. Like here, it's kind of justified. For example, we have this additional spacing here. Let me, I had some debugging borders here. Let me add these back in. See what that looks like. Maybe it'll help a little bit to visualize what's going on. So blue is our board. And the SVG is, but if I do this, like if I do this, that should give me a reference to the SVG element, right? Yeah. So I should be able to just do the same thing again. And add something else. Green, yellow, magenta, red. So that's on the SVG itself. Okay, so that's shifted over. Now the blue is centered is the centered element that I wanted to use, but then I needed to add the margins to it. So I could, the problem with if I align things snug to the red element, then depending on the scale and shape and size of it, it'll stick out all over the place, right? So for example, if we take something like this, you know, like if we, instead of reset, the blue recenters the element, right? But it depends on a certain amount of margin management. And then obviously you're not getting the best possible snuggest layout, which doesn't really become a problem until you have some, like these very large celled puzzles, right? Where then the margins get really big. I mean, there is a maximum puzzle size we're also setting up. Am I manipulating that at all at the moment? No. Also, what is this? Is that to the left of the green of the controls? Which is CO, right? So we're getting bounds right plus BO margin. And BO margin is 47. BO bounds dot right. BO bounds right. Problem is, are the bounds with scale or without scale? That's the thing. If I don't add the BO margin here, how does that look? Like, is it touching then? No. There's something else happening here on this. In the controls. Control but CO element is controls. Which is this. Wait a second. And the green part is CB, which is controls buttons. Why are controls buttons so far over? What's going on there? Ah, okay. So if I don't manipulate this, BO bounds right plus BO margin. Oh, okay. This part. Okay, so then it aligns with the blue box. So it really is just adding the BO margin. But why does the BO margin seem so large? I'm multiplying it by scale. And the margin comes from... Oh guys, have a good walk. So the margin... here. The margin comes from... Ah, okay. Cell size multiplied by scale. So it's making it half a cell. Okay, so that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. So of course, as the cells get bigger, this margin gets bigger, which doesn't make sense. What is the other margin that I've been working with? So there was a BO margin and there was a regular margin. And the regular margin is just a fixed margin, which is basically cell size times 0.5, right? Basically. What if this just becomes the same as margin? And I just get rid of BO margin. Or I just add margin. Like that. Oh, that's 32. Eventually, as they're scaling it down, there's a weird thing. Okay. The thing is, it adds a lot of margins because we already kind of have a margin included with the board itself. The problem is if I don't add that margin, I might be touching things. All right, let's try not including the margin. The problem is this thing is actually, the scale here is a bit off now because it's assuming things are running a certain way, aren't I? Yeah, I kind of want the controls to be larger, but the control scale, I'm not actually messing with the scales here, am I? No, I am actually, aren't I? So I'm creating a new scale, and that's for the CB, okay. That's because of this. All right, let me just copy this for now. And then get rid of your margin. Just do this. PA bounce right, minus bounce right. The problem is, I think I'm moving this stuff later. So if I'm using whatever it is at this point, it won't be right. Like if I output these scales here, what does that look like? 0.6, 0.4 gets me the smaller of the two. And in this case, the smaller is the vertical. What? Why? Why is the vertical scale smaller? CB BO bounds height divided by CB bounds height. This doesn't look right. Like this should be much bigger. Like it should easily, like vertically, we have so much space. There shouldn't be even a question that it fits. So if we look vertically, height. Remind me, CB is control buttons. Why is control buttons so big? That doesn't make any freaking sense. Is that without scaling or without modifying the scale? Like if I leave this like that. Okay, I guess it's big. The thing is, if I'm applying that scale, it should just perfectly fit. Can I get the scale out of this? CB bounds. Does that have the scale? Nope. Does that have the scale include? What did I just do? I pressed F5. What does F5 do? I don't know. CB bounds, does that include the scale? No. Where am I getting the scale from? There is one function that returns the scale that I'm using here. BOT get transform. Or CBEL. Is this a confusion because of the existing scale? The thing is, I'm looking at ratios here, right? Undefined, undefined, scale, undefined. Ah, sorry, that was loud. Ow, I hurt my hand. Does it not have a scale assigned at this point? It has a scale on its parent, doesn't it? Control. Do I have to unscale it first? Something is getting scaled besides the game board. Board is getting scaled here. Resize controls. And the controls are what? Controls, hash controls, cool. Yeah, okay. Hash controls, the CO element. Why does get transform not work on that? Because it looks for matrix. God damn it. All right. So let's see how that looks. Excuse me. Transform none. So it doesn't have a transform at this point. Is that because I'm resetting it? Because at this point, I've already applied the reset style. So I can potentially pull it out before the reset. Okay, so we have a 1.3 scale. But because it's reset at that point, the calculation should be accurate. And it's not. Okay, I'm kind of chasing my tail. So I've thought of this in the past. So I've sorted it out kind of by resetting the styles first, which doesn't explain why scaling it by the number that I get dividing our space, our height. Border bounds. No, why border bounds? No, game bounds height. Boom. Divided by CB bounds dot height. Now the vertical scale makes it larger. Doesn't make any sense. So CO bounds dot height. So we want game bounds height, board bounds height, and CB bounds. CB being the control buttons. We want CO height as well. And because we're actually, no, actually controls we don't care about. We're doing this on the buttons. Let's do B buttons, whatever. So 373. So the buttons are 375 tall. The game is 387 tall, and the board is only 192 tall. Okay. So dividing these out, this is our horizontal space, right? And this is our vertical space, right? So our vertical scale is 1.03, and our horizontal scale is 0.84. It gets us the smaller of the two, and it's still massive. This is multiplied by 0.84. What the hell? Is it because I'm switching from calculating relative to the game board? Sorry, the board versus the whole game area? Like, it should always fit into that space. Let's get rid of this. Let's just look at the two that we're actually using. 362. Then we have a max somewhere along the lines, right? So this is actually okay, but that here it keeps growing. I want to look at the scales. So it's now using the the horizontal scale, which is smaller. Using this horizontal scale, which is smaller. The vertical scale is getting bigger. That doesn't make any sense. Wait, what the heck? How can the vertical scale be larger in this situation? The game bound's height is 404, and the height of the control buttons is 373. Okay, because in this case it still fits. Okay, so it's my positioning that's at fault right now because I'm not centering it, right? So the top needs to be some sort of math min kind of situation, right? So math.max ga bounds.top and this, right? Like that. Plus margin. This should be just margin. Except not on that thing, but on this thing. Yeah, I have to move both of them because it that affects the killer calculator, right? So like this, it'll do that. And now if I say minus 2 times margin, like that. Right, so we have the margin top, we have the margin bottom. And then horizontally, I kind of want to have a horizontal margin as well, like that. Question is, do we want it on both sides or just on one side? Or we can just reduce the margin as well. If I do this, right, so I have a horizontal margin as well, and then I add margin here and margin here. And then we can just reduce the margin to 1/4 of a cell all around. What does that look like? And if we get rid of these outlines for a sec here, do I dislike how it scales and moves? I mean, in reality, it'll be fairly static. The buttons will probably want them closer to the bottom. Right now, you see the top of the controls is what exactly? Yeah, it's aligning it to the bottom of the board. No, not really. That's not what we want, right? There's no reason to do that. We can just do top. We don't really need to look at margins at this point because this is just, we want it just next to the board, game board. And then we just want to make sure the bottom is also taken into consideration, right? All right, so let's see, let CO top equal, it's basically that, but we also want a math min. Math dot min, and the min is going to be let's see. Hey, Saint Johnny of Polymath. Saint Johnny von Polymath. Holy moly, that's a mouthful. So we want to have the minimum. What am I doing? The top calculated such that the oh my god, my brain. We want the top to be calculated such that the bottom of this will be less than. So it's going to be the game bounds height minus bounds dot height minus margin, and not BO but CB. Right. All right. I put that there, and there. Now it should do that. It should always have that margin. It'll do a little bit, holy moly, little bit of a jiggle. And that's why I wanted the margin at the top. But I don't actually want the margin. I want it to be aligned with the edge of the board. So it can't be the variable margin. Simon said that I had one of the great names. Well, the two are not mutually exclusive, are they? Yeah, I need to. I know how I want it to work. Like, I want this to be aligned with the edge of the box. I mean, it looks weird when it's in motion, and it will never be in motion. And now I'm seeing it on a large board, and I realize why it's bottom aligned. Yeah, I don't actually want it to be top aligned at all, do I? Shoot. So we want it to be bottom aligned, actually. We just want to have it in reach. Like, even on a screen, it's better to have it in the lower right corner. Okay. So that means our maximum is it's reverse basically, right? That's our maximum. No, the actual value is going to be this. Okay, what if I do this? CO top min. So the minimum is gonna be the top of our thingamajig plus the margin, right? So it's this plus margin. That's the minimum. The max is the bottom minus height minus margin, and then the actual value that we want to use is going to be the bottom of the board minus the height of it. So bounds dot bottom minus CB bounds height. And then that's gonna go into basically and then we'll do CO top val equals math dot round, and then we'll do a math dot min this math dot max that, and then that for val, and that's the final thing, right? Min max floored, and then that just goes in there. Did I get that all right? No. BO bounds bottom minus board bounds the bottom minus height. BO bounds bottom should be here. Minus that height should get us this value. Okay, that's not working. Okay, that's not working. So if I look at this and see bounds dot height, what does that look like? Yeah, this is so fiddly. The bottom 453 height. If I bring this down, the bottom should be pretty close to the actual bottom. So let's have a look at game bottom as well. It's possible that I'm barking up the wrong tree and I'm looking at the wrong numbers here. But red should be... Red is the SVG. Wait a second. Which one is the board? BO. Dashed blue. Wait, what? Where's dashed blue? Is it hiding under the red? Yes. Okay. So if there's no margin stuff, red and blue are the same. Okay. So the board bottom, the board being the red outline, or the blue outline really. BO dash blue. So the blue outline minus the height of that should be the actual top value. But we're taking the minimum off the min, the max, and the top value. So it's possible that I got those wrong, and that like my max is always, the min or the max are always adjusting the value itself. Okay, so let's look at these. Sorry guys, this is a bit arcane. I probably should do my homework and kind of figure that out first on a piece of paper and then just implement it. But it's always like, oh, I'm almost got it, I'm almost got it, I almost got it, and then a never-ending cycle. So the min max here. So the minimum is at the top, the 46. Yeah, and I need to reverse these, right? So that needs to be max, and that needs to be minimum. We want to have the minimum of the max and the maximum of the minimum. Yes, okay. And now we probably want to add the margin at that point. Like that. Right, and now it should be aligned with the board. The top, not quite, because there's some other shenanigans going on. Because there's an actual margin there. Do we need that margin? The problem is right now the margin is aligned with the red outline. Huh? No, it's aligned with the blue minus the margin, which aligns it with the red, which doesn't put it in the right place. So the margins really need to be aligned relative to the actual board, irrespective of the outside clues. Because visually it doesn't make, like, the human brain doesn't work otherwise. I sometimes regret not putting a background color behind the whole thing. Hey, Missing Deck, how are you? You gave me this one. No. You gave me this one. All right. All right. So we have that one, and that one. All right. All right. So 4 outside clues. That's actually good. I have so many little bitties extra. I wish I could have the scroll bar optionally, because it's very unlikely we'll ever need it. But for some reason, I can't get that CSS to work correctly. The scroll bar should be auto, and then it shouldn't show unless we need to scroll. And for some reason, for me, that just doesn't work correctly. Overflow Y scroll. What if I change this to auto? That's on puzzle rules. So if we say overflow Y auto, and then we look at the one with the super long rules, will it scroll? It will. Okay. Okay. So that does work. Okay. All right. That's a lot better, I think. I think we're getting somewhere at least. So it's a bit squished now. You see, that's kind of what I was avoiding by having that margin there. So right now, because some puzzles will have a built-in margin like this, and some don't, like that. So unless I recalculate the margin relative to the board, it's gonna be tricky, actually. All right, like, at least now it doesn't get ridiculously large. We have these 2 different layout elements, right? And you can see this actually overlays with that, overlaps, and that's why the margin in this case is so small, because of that tiny little overlap, right? Because in the original layout, I wanted to center the board itself and then enable enough spacing that the things around it would fit. But now when I want to maximize space, centering the board doesn't really make sense. Okay, right now I think I'm on a quarter cell margin. If I bring this up to a half cell, it shouldn't have that problem. But like in this situation, for example, everything gets really squished. And the margin here is way too big. It's just like that. It's almost like, I always thought this was something I always want to implement. It's basically the maximum size of a cell needs to be limited. So very small puzzles like 4x4s don't become so big relative to everything else. That's pretty much what throws it off. Although even on this puzzle, we get a very narrow rules text here on the side. Yeah, I'm gonna make a note of that. I don't want to kind of waste too much time, but calculate margin / padding relative to board grid rather than stand in centered space. Yeah, it's a little bit of a complex thing that's always been a little bit of a pain in the butt. In fact, now you see here we have this bottom offset because the margin is, relatively speaking, so much bigger. While here it's kind of aligning with something, but nothing that makes sense to the human brain, right? Like this is aligning to that minus the margin, which doesn't make sense. It should just align to the outline. And I'm almost tempted to make the sidebar a fixed size and then resize everything else according to that. I think that might actually be even better. So that this bar is like a particular size, and then the remaining space is just what we have, and then because you never want this to be too narrow, right? Like maybe like something like this, kind of like maybe a quarter, 25% of the whole thing. And the other thing we could potentially do is we could potentially make this a drawer so you can reduce it. So if somebody has a very narrow phone or anything like that, of course, right now on a phone layout, it won't. It'll just disappear, huh? Does the excuse me? Does the resize here not kick in? It might just be doing testing, like that. This rotate doesn't kick in. It does kick in the handle resize. What? Why is it so broken? Why is it so broken? Is it because the other resize might happen afterwards? Because I think this happens after this the main script runs. Excuse me. I'm gonna basically bypass this for a sec. If I do this, right? We'll do this and then do this. No, so this is the one that screws up. Ow. How does it screw up that a second resize fixes it? To do establish portrait. Oh, because we're just not running this stuff? Or is this because I'm running this silly little code here? Okay, so it's literally just because this is not done yet. Yeah. I think that'll be the next thing, but I don't want to start this now. My brain is shutting down. So that's the other big thing. To do portrait layout. So that's just not done right now. All right, so let's see what it looks like within the harness now. Yeah, we might want to mess a little bit with this, like maybe have a shaded inset here or something. So maybe instead of it being all blue, let me see if I can find a color from the but like I'm not a designer, I don't really want to pick colors to be honest. I mean, they have this other light blue, but I don't know what they mean, like what they intended for these, how these were intended to be used, you know. Just having some colors doesn't really help. You need like a primary, secondary, and all that sort of thing. I mean, the text, like, what's the background color for black text here? I don't know. Like, they all seem to be too saturated. Like, if that text were black, I don't think it'll work. Like, there's a very, very light gray. Was this E4, E9, EC? But like these are all primary colors, not really background colors. Yeah, I guess that would work. Maybe that's actually better. It's less intrusive. Like it doesn't, and the big empty area doesn't really bother me in this way. We could even have it white and have like a very thin border. Like we could have border right, solid black. Like we could have something like that, and then just have a line, a thin line. No, it clashes with the lines off the board itself. Yeah, but I think it's definitely an improvement over the rounded corners. I think that's all right. Hi, Japanese characters. I don't know how to pronounce that. What is lodging today? What are you asking? So compared to this, it'll look like that. I think that's a little bit better. All right. And then very long rules actually work pretty well as well, I think. Let me pull this out and full screen it just to see what it actually on an actual browser window would look like. Or maybe I can do it quarter size, something like that. I mean, it'll be a bit larger because even though I'm quarter sizing it, the toolbar will be larger. I mean, it's larger relatively speaking. It also feels like this is a weird zoom. Oops. Maybe the text is almost too small now, isn't it? We go back to like a phone layout. Yeah, on a phone you want the text a bit smaller so you can actually, so it's not like 2 words, 3 words per line. Yeah, I mean this is worst case scenario, obviously. Although it's not too different from what a 9x9 would work, would seem like. I think. Yeah. I mean that's the problem with having the rules side by side. All right, let's see what that looks like. An iPhone layout. Xsums. Xsums is the first and add to 3, right? So that's got to be a 1 or a 2. Oh, it's got to be a 2. These add to 3, right? First 3 add to 6, or the first 2 add 2. So that's it can't be a 2. It's got to be 3, and then 2 and 1, and 4. 2, 1. The first n add to 5. I guess it's got to be 2. All right. And am I guessing right here? Yay. Oh, okay. All right. Like that, like that. No, okay, let's refresh that. Get it updated color. Yeah, the puzzle is gets too big. All right, guys, I think I'm just puttering now. I'm gonna call it a day here. My brain is not braining anymore. How long have I been streaming? It doesn't feel like yeah, it's been less than 2 hours. I had a weird weekend, weird couple of days. All right. I had a good. I'm happy that I managed to update the mobile app with the visual layout for the thumbnails. I'll have to do some double checking now. One of the problems is I brought like all the settings over while the app had a specific limited set of settings, and I don't know if they're all compatible, so I have to kind of deal with that. And it brings in a bunch of code that doesn't really apply to the app, so I don't know if that code is correctly disabled. So that's something else I have to double check. So there's a bunch of testing I need to do. And then there's all the stuff related to actually creating puzzles and loading in and all that, which could potentially still be broken with this update. Yeah, for example, what's this button doing here? Yeah, what was that? I saw you. It's gonna do that every time. I think that's probably coming from the thumbnail mechanism, because it obviously loads the engine in the background to generate the puzzles. Oh. Oh yeah, okay. The app isn't running right now. I forgot. All right. I think that's it for today. Bit of a all over the place stream. I might move away from doing these kind of jobs on the stream and bring the stream back to like having individual features for the main site, or big picture planning stuff, or like, you know, self-contained things that I can do within a stream within the like 2 or 3 hours of the stream. I've always been wanting to do more streams during the week, and have kind of both types of streams. Have a stream where I'm working on a specific thing, and having a stream where I'm just working and just doing all sorts of tasks and stuff. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I'm smelling something, and I think there's something in the oven which I should probably check, since nobody else is here to check that. Well, thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Have a good rest of your day.